OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. We got a big hour here. Bruce Cassidy coming up of the Vegas Golden Knights. I guess the Golden Knights obviously in town for the first time since they won their cup. I think they're down at the Hall of Fame this afternoon. And I would think that's wear your cup ring type activity, right?
Yeah.
You walk around with a cup ring at the Hall of Fame.
It just depends on how problematic it is transporting that thing around. Like, I don't know. It's just some people, like I do it sometimes if I'm going to a different place for a weekend on an airplane. It's like rubber wedding ring goes on, the garbage watch goes on. It's like, that thing's weird carrying around. It's like, who the hell knows who can get access to that, especially when you're in hotel rooms, you're in lockers in different arenas. It's like, that's not exactly a cheapo ring.
I know.
It's just transporting that around could become a hassle. But you know me, boys. I would have that heater on all the time.
The replica. When in doubt, replica. But it's got to be just a monstrosity. It's got to be so obnoxious. Because I found it interesting, Jacques Martin. Noodles, you're around him all the time. Like, does he wear that cup ring a lot? I saw it over the weekend.
I've never seen that before, though.
He's worn it a couple nights, and I think it's fantastic. It's just a little sniff and get a little peek of that because it's like
in Pittsburgh, though.
Dude, so what? It's just like a little. You're just floating out a vibe. It's like he's Harry Dunn at the bar, sticking his keister out, where he's like, "Take a look at that, fellas.
All right,
you want a little piece of that? Let's talk about it. Maybe." I can tell you how to get there. I love him wearing that ring.
It's Woody Harrelson in Kingpin. Remember when he walks in? It's like dun 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 dun. He's got the ring on the rubber hand.
Absolutely.
Like that's what it is. I don't know. I just those rings are how much? Are they $50,000? Like I have no idea what these rings. They're probably.
I would think more than that, Noodles, but I have no frame of reference. I don't.
Dude,
know.
I saw Nav the Superfan on CP24, and he had his ring on. I'm telling you, that ring is the size of a backpack. It was insane.
It's so obnoxious. They're so obnoxious. That's what I'm saying. Like Martin wearing it, it's amazing, but it pops. It's like there's the coach has got his cup ring on, and it wasn't with the Senators. That's what I find somewhat. It's not off-putting. I'm curious about that decision. He won it obviously as an assistant when he was with Pitt, so I would assume there's like a penguin emblem maybe and like diamonds.
Dude, it doesn't matter. It's not someone's not going to go up to him and say, "Hey man, that doesn't have a Sens logo on."
I
Can
hear
you just
you,
back up with that thing?
It's he left and he was successful and now he's back and we'll see what happens.
We're an hour in and Hayes has gone after Jacques Martin and the Green Men.
Jacques Martin, the Green Men. The Green Men, I'm getting blowback from people in Vancouver on that.
You should, because they're awesome and everyone loves them. It's just like Rempe. Everybody loves them. I'm surprised you didn't say you hate the way he's fighting.
No, I love Rempe. I love that story. I love seeing it. I give him all the credit in the world. He knows what he's doing. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't think he should be fighting every single night. You can't. Like, it's not possible. You cannot fight, especially heavyweights like that. Let it be more spontaneous. But these guys are challenging him, and he wants to show, like, he's not afraid of anybody. I have a ton of time for that.
Yeah,
and I got a ton of time for Jacques Martin, his cup history. I'm just saying I have not seen a guy wear a cup ring that he won somewhere else behind the bench of his current team. As for the Green Men, I stand where I stand on the Green Men. I stand where I stand. I'm not
same as my alumni
jacket.
jacket. I'm a big fan. If there's a summer out in a big garden, a summer cocktail party or some kind of barbecue, I'm wearing the alumni jacket.
I know, but that you're not wearing it back to Carolina.
Exactly.
That's the alumni coat in Carolina.
I don't think that's appropriate.
It's apples to apples. Jacques Martin is like, hey, guys, starting lineup tonight. There's a big penguin emblem on his.
So you're saying if I went to a Carolina Hurricanes type of event, like a sponsorship, let's say a barbecue outdoors in someone's backyard, and you say if I waltzed in there with my Leaf alumni jacket and a pair of khakis and some beautiful shoes, you would say that's offensive.
I would say that's a really strange decision, and I think other people would be wondering why you would do that. It's a Carolina Hurricanes party. Not that people in Ottawa are not happy for him, proud of him. Jacques Martin obviously has had a very successful coaching career. They love him there. And they're winning games. They're really winning a lot of games. They're doing what we said they were going to do a few weeks ago. They're going to get chugging. They're going to finish with 85 points or something, and everyone's going to say they're a move or two away from being a lock next year. We're going to play the same game every single year like we do in Ottawa. It's a cup ring during the game that he won in Pittsburgh. I don't know. I was.
I'm gonna
Noodles,
get to the bottom of it tomorrow. I'm in Nashville. I'm gonna get to the bottom of it tomorrow. Because they're playing in Washington tonight. They play in Nashville tomorrow. There's got to be a story
but how are you
going
to get to the bottom of it? You're going to go up to him and say, Jacques, why are you wearing the ring on the bench? I don't like that's.
I don't know what I would do. I might ask somebody to ask him. Like, I'm not going to go up when the coaches get an opportunity with the broadcast.
It's a symbolic.
They're not going to go. It's the hell you wearing that ring for?
It just symbolizes just the ultimate goal. And success. And I love that he wears it because it's just a little sniff where it's like, hey, take a little look at that. You want to work towards that?
He should be very, very proud. He should be very proud. I mean, listen, he earned those rings. I'm not disputing that. He earned the ring. He wears the ring around, he shows it off at practice or whatever. I was just surprised, and I'm curious if there's a history of coaches winning cups elsewhere and then wearing that cup ring with their next team. I'm just curious. Where I think in Bruce Cassidy's scenario, if he wears the cup,
Brucey.
Yeah,
let's
but
ask Brucey
he won it
if
with
he got a
Vegas.
new gig. If he gets a new gig in 10 years and it's a young team, would he ever walk around with the cup ring?
Okay. He's in town.
fair.
The Vegas Golden Knights are at the Hall of Fame today. They're playing the Leafs tomorrow night. Joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline, here's the head coach of the Golden Knights, Bruce Cassidy. How you doing, Bruce?
I'm good, fellas. How you doing?
We're doing well. We were just discussing cup rings. I'm curious. Do you wear yours? Like, you guys were at the Hall of Fame. Are you rocking the cup ring today, or where do you stand on that?
I don't. Have you seen the size of it? First of all, it's huge, and they're getting bigger and bigger. But I went there yesterday by myself in the afternoon, and they have a. I don't know if you guys have been over there. You can go upstairs to the vault, and they have a lot of the rings from recent years, like the last 20 years or something. It's kind of cool the way they put them all together like that. But I don't wear mine much. I did say I bought it on this trip because I was in Ottawa a couple of days ago. I'm from Ottawa, so I wanted to show my brother and my two nephews.
Okay.
Because it's kind of cool for people to see it, once the first time. It is interesting. I know when other people have them, I always want to take a look at it.
Absolutely. Well, we were discussing actually in Ottawa because Jacques Martin was wearing his cup ring that he won at Pitt. He was wearing it the other night, and we were curious, like if 10 years down the road, you're coaching somewhere else. Do you think you'll wear the
Young team.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting, eh? It worked for them the other night. They beat us. So
yeah, exactly.
There's a little magic in that thing. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't think I would myself, but
okay.
Each his own, I guess. He's been around long enough. He's earned the right to do that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great to have you. We appreciate you doing this. We've been talking about your team a lot, ever since they got into the league. You've been there now, and it's been uber successful. You guys won the Cup last year, and we always talk about how aggressive the front office is, and you've worked around the league, different spots. Curious what that's like as a coach when you've got a front office, a GM, and a president of hockey ops that seem to be chomping at the bit all the time to improve the team. What's that like as a coach, knowing what you're dealing with in Vegas and with Kelly and the rest of the front office?
Well, yeah, and that comes from the top. Bill Foley, right? He's about the now, right? He wants to win now. They've done a great job with it. I don't know if anybody saw what they did the first year coming, but they did a great job, obviously, preparing for that original draft. And, it was appealing to me when I interviewed there that they were all in all the time. And as I said, as a coach, you always want to have the best players at your disposal that you can. Now, they've also gone through a couple of good coaches too, right? So you know what you sign up for. So I think you better get the job done. I'm okay with that, right? I like Boston was a pressure market. I think it's more enjoyable working those situations where you're expected to win.
Bruce, you guys win the Cup last year, and then you start the season and you hit the ground running. Like, was there any formula or any message at training camp where there was no Cup hangover? There was no situation where you guys took your foot off the gas. If anything, you started like a house on fire. Was there any magic to it, or is the guys were just chomping at the bit to start the season?
I think it was that. I think they were happy to see one another again, even though it was a short summer. It's a really tight group. That's usually the case when you win. And I think they just wanted to get back on the ice together. And we were pretty healthy to start the year. So that made a big difference, too. So we kind of picked up where we left off, at least in the win column. I don't think our game was perfect by any means, but no hangover for us. We had the exact same training camp we did the year before. We just tightened everything up a little bit. There was less teaching because most of the players were returning. So that made it a lot easier. Less video sessions, et cetera. But I think we went through our hangover a little bit in January, when this dog days kick in. Then you could see it with our group a little bit. We were having a tough time getting energized. And I think now we should be through that. The problem now is we've got 5 forwards out of our lineup. So we're kind of piecing it together up front. So, but by now, you got to get your game together if you expect to win later on. So we're in that phase now.
Bruce, I've asked a bunch of different people around the league. You talked about your team going into the dog days in January. There's been a lot of swings, positive and negative, in the league this year. It seems like teams heat up and they're just on fire, and then it seems like a month later they can't win. Do you have any explanation for that?
I don't. I think if we could figure it out and bottle the win streaks, you obviously would do it. But sometimes I always thought, over the years, if when you got hot, usually your goaltending has a lot to do with that. They have a big say in the outcome of the game. So I think when teams go in a funk, it's probably usually their goalie can't get them a win, and when they really need it. And then I think on the other side of it, a goalie can get hot. He can certainly carry a team. So I think there's a little bit of that involved, especially with so much parity in the league. But at the end of the day, no, I don't have a great answer for it. I just think over the course of a long season, you're going to go through some of these swings. Look at Edmonton, right? They just happen to get on the wrong side of it early. So it gets magnified. Then they go on, they ripped off 16 in a row. So same hockey club, different coach. But, again, they found their game. So it's hard to explain sometimes. But you got to stay out of the bad ones, the losing streaks. I know that, or you won't find yourself there in the end, usually.
Yeah, absolutely. Leafs Golden Knights tomorrow night. Bruce Cassidy joining us here. And, you mentioned goaltending. As you're aware, Bruce, international hockey is returning. The next couple of years we're going to see best on best. And you're a Canadian. And we're always talking about the goaltending position up here. That's going to be a big part of the buzz between now and next year, and certainly the 26 Olympics. And Adin Hill's a guy at the top of a lot of people's list. He's your guy in Vegas. He was there for the Cup. He's still your guy today. A lot of Canadians watching, listening to this show that are wondering, is he capable of being a guy that wears a Canadian crest and dragging this country to a gold medal? I'm sure you feel that he can do it. Can you take us through maybe your pitch for Canadians when it comes to Adin Hill as maybe the guy for Canada down the road?
Yeah, I think he certainly has to be in the conversation. He's proven he can win at a high level last year, go in under pressure situations. He basically came off the bench in the second round. The question about Adin will be, he's still young and he hasn't been a number one in this league really till this was going to be the year, and then he got injured in November. So now we're starting to try to build that back in. So, do you want a guy that's been a proven number one? That'll be in the conversation too, right? So he's done the tough part, I think, which is win the Cup and get on one of those runs and carry the ball for a team. He just hasn't been a consistent number one in this league for a long time. So, but that'll be up to the higher ups to decide. But I certainly would go to bat for him. He's got a great demeanor, well-liked guy, gets along with everybody. He's not a low-maintenance type of player, and I think he'd be proud to represent his country, that's for sure.
Bruce, you talk about Vegas, the city, and you've been there now, you've won a cup. It always seems like that city, teams coming in, they either can be really focused because maybe the coach is dangling a carrot, or maybe distracted on the other side where they're focused on maybe after the game type of thing. Have you noticed any of that, or is it just kind of business as usual because every city, everyone kind of melts in and does whatever they want?
I think originally, Noodles, I would agree with you. When they first came in the league, teams were pretty excited to get to Vegas, and there's a lot going on. Now they've been there a few times. I think, yeah, it's an enjoyable stop because there's lots to do. But I don't think it has the same effect maybe as the first few years where, teams are going to always do their rookie party there, if you know what I mean. I think, like I said, some of that is probably worn off for the visiting teams, but I don't know that for sure, but that would be my guess just because now they're used to coming to Vegas. So, but at the end of the day, we have a good home record, so maybe something is going on. I don't know, but I just think the way the guys are in the league now and with everything out there, it's, I have a feeling it's just like another stop with just more things to do.
I've always been curious, like how often are coaches aware of their own team's rookie party and the opposition's rookie party? Like, are you on top of all that kind of stuff, Bruce?
Well, I know when ours is, right, because the players, and I'd want to know just because, hey, the next day we got to probably have if we're practicing something where you're just skating, right? You're not overthinking. You're just getting out there skating and sort of sweating it out and go from there, right? So, and I don't know if like this year somebody who was in, I think Philadelphia was in, and they had their rookie party there, and someone told me, but they played it very well against us. I think it went down to the wire. I think if I'm not mistaken, we beat them in the last minute of the game, so they were really good. But I don't know if any other team did it this year there, to be honest with you. So, no, I'm not on top of everybody unless someone's talking about it in the room. But I'll know when our guys are, have things planned usually, because I think it's just important that you're on the same page and that stuff. And I said I'm not that hard on the guys that way. We got a very veteran group that's pretty responsible guys, a bunch of good pros. So it's just good to know when something's going on.
Bruce Cassidy of the Vegas Golden Knights, you guys have been hit with the injury bug, a few times this year. Obviously, Mark Stone, it sounds like he's going to be out for quite some time, and Jack Eichel's been out. I believe he's on the trip. Where do we stand with those guys? What kind of info can you give us as we get closer to the deadline and, inch closer to the playoffs, two of your best players being out?
Yeah, Mark's not on the trip. He won't play on this trip. He's week to week. He's got upper body, so I think there may be more info on him as he gets reevaluated. Jack is skating on his own, not yet with the team. So he's got to get integrated with the team first. So he would be closer than Mark to returning right now. But neither one of them are playing tomorrow night. I don't anticipate Jack will be ready for Boston, but who knows after that? I mean, those are important games for him. He's from Boston. The trip back to Buffalo, but I honestly don't know if he'll be ready. And we've got a few other forwards out, Dorofeyev, Howden, Carrier, they're not on the trip. So younger guys have to go in, or guys from Henderson, and we got to make it up elsewhere. We got a healthy blue line for, I think, this tomorrow night's game. I think it'll be the fourth time this year we dressed our six guys we played to finish the playoffs with, and our goalies are healthy, so that's going to have to carry the day for us for now.
Any chance we see that cup ring down in Boston? You behind a bench in Boston with the cup ring on?
That would be something. That's a maybe.
Okay. We'll put you down for a maybe.
Bruce, just one quick one before we get you out of here. There's been a lot of talk about the last three cup winners and how valuable, like, big, long, rangy, tough defensemen are. Can you just give a quick little example of like what that means for your team defensively and how important it is to have that type of decor?
For us, we play a zone, right? We have layers, however you want to describe it. So we're not a man-to-man team. So for us, we want our D closer to the net. Typically, plays start to get away from the net. We hand off to the low forward or center. So for us, it's invaluable to have those guys because we want to protect the slot. So those long sticks can reach a little farther, kill plays below the goal line. So for us, it works perfectly. If you're into man-to-man, I don't know if that quickness is more important or not. We don't play it that way. So, but it works really well for us. And I think our goaltender, especially a guy like Adin, he's a kind of a positional goaltender, big guy that takes up a lot of the net. Logan's a little more athletic, but that type of goaltending goes hand in hand with those long D. That's, how it worked out for us in Boston a lot of years, and it worked well defensively. So for us, I love it. And I think that, it's a good match for how we want to play. And, I don't know, Colorado, they seem to have more agile guys, but, I know our team in Tampa, when I was in Boston, boy, they got bigger over the years, right? When they brought in McDonough and Sergachev joined their lineup at Cernak. And, man, those guys were hard to play through to get to the net. So, obviously, Hedman was always there, and they added, I think, Bogosian, too. And they were big, and it was tough. And I know I'm not the only coach of teams that played Tampa that would say that.
Well, it's obviously been a great run so far, for you down in Vegas. We wish you nothing but continued success. Good luck tomorrow night in Toronto. Welcome back to Boston. That's going to be fun later in the week. And thanks for doing this, Bruce. We appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good night.
You got it. Bruce Cassidy of the Vegas Golden Knights joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Check out Maple Toyota's huge truck and SUV lineup, including Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander in stock and ready to deliver. Visit mapletoyota.com. All right, Leafs Golden Knights tomorrow night. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, it's a good point, though, that he makes about, zone defense and man-to-man, because systematically it works for certain teams, right? You got bigger D, they protect the middle, they allow the forwards to do a lot of the grunt work down low. When you get into man-to-man, you have to have speed. You start chasing people around. That's when you get stretched out. So you see the difference in styles and stuff, but it's interesting because
I got to be honest with you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In all the years of me playing, if a coach said we're playing zone D in our own end right now, I'd look at him and say, what the hell are you talking about? I have no idea what the concepts of zone defense would be in the National Hockey League. It was always very simple. Like centermen support the defenseman in the corner, in between the net and the D, and any loose pucks are your responsibility. I don't know the philosophies behind zone defense in the NHL.
Well, what you're seeing now, though, in years like past us, you and I, when it play, the D are so active. Like the D, like you, how many times do you see Morgan Riley behind the net? Like he'll jump into the play, right? Like you see so much action. Like guys, they try and stretch you out in the offensive zone. Todd McLellan did it years ago. I don't know if he was one of the first one, but if you look, they would have 2D spread out, and their centerman would come all the way. They'd have 3 people across the blue line, that stretch coverage, and then they'd go downhill towards the net. So you would see like nowadays zone, they're trying to protect a small rink inside the bigger rink. And force everything to the outside. That's where he just said, like big D, they protect the net. They protect lanes, and he has a big goaltender who just fronts the puck. So where the Leafs can have success is that they get moving, and then they seam them and stretch them out a little bit. That's what happened in Vegas the other day. Now, they had a couple bounces. McCabe's firing 15 feet wide. It hits a body, drops back in. Mm-hmm. But, Kampf going to the net off that play, He attacks the blue paint, and he gets around the goaltender. That's breaking up a zone is you actually have to be courageous to go in there, and you got to get in there.
And even more so in the playoffs, right? Because
exactly.
In the playoffs, it's every other night. Whistles go away a little bit, and
for sure,
that's why they've had success. That's why Tampa was a blueprint for years. It was Tampa had the largest defense in the NHL, and I believe one of the largest defense cores like in history in terms of average like height and weight. They were like averaging like 6'3", 220. It was something absurd. Right. And it was like, if you want to come in, go ahead. See what you can do. Yeah. See if you can get by us and go find that rebound. And with Vasilevsky, it was even more pronounced because it's like that shot from the hash marks on the sideboard, no chance.
Not scoring from there.
It's not going anywhere. And he's probably not giving up a rebound anyway. If he does, he can't get through. And pretty good strategy. And on top of that, that's why you'd see Stamkos blocking shots. It's like everyone just sells out. Block, protect the house. If it gets through, it's on the goalie. He's probably going to make a stop. Rest is history. Yeah. And, again, you got to have those guys, though, and Vegas does. Tampa still does to an extent, not quite. But, Anyway, thanks again to Bruce Cassidy. It'll be fun tomorrow night. The champs in town, Vegas Golden Knights, taking on the Leafs. The Leafs have won 7 straight for the first time in 20 years.
7 straight. And
20
I'll tell you
years.
what, Hazy, the other night in Colorado is an example of the importance of having the star players. Tyler Bertuzzi did his thing, but that set up from William Nylander, the play from Mitch Marner, it's like you can grind it out and like play for that one opportunity, and it was a regular season game. But when you have star players like that, they're difference makers, and they make those plays. It's like, and they did their job. Like, we could talk about all the intangibles, being involved and engaged and everything, but your star players make the plays to get things done.
Right. And that's what has to happen in the playoffs. And that's why, again, we keep coming back, all this focus on the trade deadline. And can you find another piece? Can you find depth? That's what it is. You're not acquiring players that are better than what you have.
No.
You're not, especially up front, you're not going to get that. And that's exactly what Bruce Cassidy just said is what has been an issue for these guys, getting to the middle of the ice. Getting inside, finding a way to get a bounce go their way when it's 2-1 in the third period, Game 7. They weren't getting blown out in those games. They just couldn't get on the board. They couldn't get inside. They couldn't activate any offense.
I was talking to, sorry to interrupt me.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. I was talking to somebody today about it, though. And, I thought Samsonov was great. Joseph Wall coming back. But heading to the deadline, what are we, 10 days away, 9 days away? Like, how many because I didn't like Georgiev's game. I didn't think does Colorado trust their goaltending? Does Carolina trust their goal? I can name a 5-pack of teams that we, could believe are upper echelon teams or could be, teams that are at that next level that they're going to, do with what they have in net potentially, or would they go for upgrades? And, I'm thinking Carolina, L.A., Colorado, Edmonton. Skinner needs help. He needs somebody to play with. That's the thing, man.
Skinner's still scary.
But in the Leafs, I don't trust their goaltending.
That's the thing, too. Everybody today. Man.
No, that's just the truth, man.
Skinner's their guy. Skinner's their guy, but he's on pace to play 65 games there. They need somebody to play with him. He's playing too much there.
But that's what I was going back to, Noodles, about the prices and or whatever. They need somebody to back him up. So go get somebody. Find a team that's garbage and say, we need that guy to back up. We need somebody different than Picker to back him up.
Easier said than done, though. That's the problem. You got it. A lot of these teams, including the Leafs, it's money in, money out. It's not, hey, you know what? You've got to move somebody off your roster or money to have that guy come in. And if you're bringing somebody in, even if it's Marc-Andre Fleury, his salary, he doesn't make $500,000. You got to figure out if Minnesota wants to move him, what it's going to pay to get him, and if they're going to have to chew on money. There's a lot of different moving parts there. That's it. I would include Leafs in there. Who's starting? So there's Leafs, Carolina, Colorado, Edmonton, LA. That's 5 teams that
Did I see
that are
Matt
really
Murray
good teams.
was skating today?
I saw that today too. I wasn't sure if that was Matt Murray from the Dallas Stars. That was
Matt Murray. Leafs Matt Murray.
I believe he's still a part of the team. He's got a stall down there. He's working. He wants to return. He's not going to return before this season. He's not going to be activated off IR or whatever. I can't imagine that's going to happen. But
never know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where the PA would stand on that. If he feels like he's healthy and he wants to be activated, I'm not sure how the Leafs work their way around that. But I can't imagine after major surgery, this guy just taking some shots, he's going to show up with 10 games left and say, I want to play. That's not going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, that's the reality. That's the position. As Bruce Cassidy just said, a lot of these streaks are based on, did a goalie get hot or did a goalie get cool down? And Edmonton's an example. That's what I'm saying about Skinner. When they won 16 in a row, he was unbelievable. His stats were crazy good. He was standing on his head. And now he's struggling. Yeah, he's struggling, and they're losing. And it's that's the nature of the beast. That's just a reality. It's not going to be easy. Even you get guys like in New York, it's not like it's Shesterkin. It's Quick. It's playing a lot.
Well, New York's won 10 in a row now. That quietly. The Rangers have won 10 games in a row.
They lost to Columbus yesterday.
Yeah, last night. Sorry, yeah. But that was the 10 spot leading into that game last night. Mm-hmm. They've woken up. I watched them a couple nights ago. I'm like, that team's pretty good.
They are. Yeah, no, they're legit, and you have to believe Shesterkin's going to be the guy. I think in Boston, I believe Swayman will be the guy. Bobrovsky's the guy in Florida. Beyond that, I don't know. I don't know in the East. Vasilevsky will be the guy, clearly. But since his injuries had ups and downs, there's a lot of question marks in that.
Jersey's got to get a goalie. I don't know what the hell they're waiting for.
Might be too late, Noodles. They're 7 points out.
They're firing.
They're 7 out.
They're chanting "Fire Lindy" again.
Yeah.
I say you can't do it again. You got one shot at that one, and then they turned it. There's another team. You don't think you need a goalie? They've been watching different goalies in net. Like, come on.
Yeah, we know.
I know.
I know. That's what we're saying. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's only so many high-end names that are out there. Beyond that, you might be talking depth guys, but it's also pretty late in the season to start figuring that thing out. Like, that ship might have sailed. For Jersey in particular, they just might be done. There's 7 points out. That's a large gap.
I would love to get, and I won't get this, but I'm in Nashville. Like, you hear rumblings that Saros might be a player available.
Because they got that Russian kid coming up, right?
Askarov or whatever. Yeah, but he doesn't have a contract. Saros needs a contract. Like, that's, you got to figure that out. Like, very interesting because he's a top goaltender. Like, he's in that Markstrom vein. There's two guys that potentially, again, depending on Markstrom controls his own fate, so does Saros.
Noodles, I know he's regarded. I've watched him play some unbelievable hockey, but there's something about him. And you guys, everybody,
5'10". That's why.
No, there's just something about him that it's not for me. I don't know what it is, and it's not because of his size. It's not. I don't know what it is. But anyway.
All right, you're off on Saros. Saros is out. We're crossing.
I'm out on Saros.
I'm all in on
You're
Saros.
all in on him.
For any team needing a goaltender, I would be all in on him.
All right.
Like, he's that good.
All right. It was a really cool night in Chicago. Our buddy Kenny Daniels coming up, the voice of the Detroit Red Wings, had a great call with that Showtime where there's another. I'm going to let this one slide. I got another thing I was going to bring up, but you're claiming I'm being too negative today, so I will not do it. We'll get.
Do you apologize for the Green Man people? You can have
Green Man. I stand by. Jacques Martin. I didn't. It wasn't that I had an issue. I was taken aback by it. I was surprised that you would wear a cup ring from a different team. I was taken aback. I got to be honest. I saw it online. I was like, it's interesting. He's got a Penguins cup ring coaching the Sens. It's an interesting move.
I love it.
Green Men. I'm not budging, man. Not going to budge on the Green Men. All right, call me the boogeyman from Toronto. I get it. People in Vancouver are going to say I'm so out of touch. I'll tell you what, the Pettersson news out there is getting wild about his contract and what they might end up doing with him in the future. We'll get into that.
There was reported last week that teams were calling on him to see if he was available.
You can't trade him. Like, there's no way you could trade him. And anyway, we'll get into it. We got to go here. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
I got sucked into a rabbit hole yesterday on a sport that I've never really been a big believer in. A&E has these docu-series that just run all day about, like, WWF and E wrestlers, and I was like, this stuff is so fake and it's so predetermined. But I got sucked in, and I'm like, I watched it for hours on end. Like, the wrestling, like Triple H and The Rock and how they came. I've
seen them. They're well done. Like,
they are so well done. You just watch and you're like, this is, and they have this like dark like room around the table, and Rene Paquette and they have a table of like wrestling experts, and it's like they're going through the history, and they're like, yeah, he was pissed off he lost. I'm like, what do you mean he was pissed off he lost the belt? It was predetermined that he was going to lose.
Well, it's sports entertainment. Like, everyone understands that. But it's no different than watching a scripted show. Like, it's about the drama. It's about, the storylines. I'm not into it anymore. I haven't watched wrestling. And
were you ever?
I was when I was like a teenager. Like Stone Cold and The Rock in the 90s and all that kind of stuff. That was awesome, man. And I was at WrestleMania 6 at the Dome when Hogan took on the Warrior. That was unbelievable.
Dude, I was there with my grandfather.
The actual Warrior running in?
Oh, yeah.
Warrior
he ran down the aisle, dude. It was
unreal.
Amazing. It was maybe one of my favorite sporting events.
One of the all-time great sporting events. And it was for the heavyweight belt and the Intercontinental belt. And
dude, it was insane. The
unreal.
Ultimate Warrior in the Sky Dome.
Yeah.
I grew up on Stampede wrestling in Alberta. That was the Hart brothers.
Right.
There was the Iron Sheik. There was Muck and Sing, and like all that. Like, it was that was old school, like the Cuban assassin. The guy always like pull out some powder and throw it into the guy's face. Like it was insane.
So ridiculous.
Throw out some powder in the guy's
I'm not lying.
face.
Google the
I know
Cuban
that move.
assassin. The guy
know
had
that
the big
move.
beard and like he always had some foreign object. Like Ed Whalen would be like, "Look out, he's got a foreign object." It was crazy, like back then. And
But it was
that
just
a
crazy
business.
how they
well
realized
done.
they like in this doc. It's like they weren't popular. So they said, well, I guess I got to be a bad guy. And then the next show, they'd be a bad guy, and they were the most
that's it.
popular guy
Like,
in the universe.
Steve Austin's a great example of that. Stone Cold, where he goes through his name change and his image change because he used to have hair, but he had like a skullet, like his hair was thinning, and then
Really?
like he was like gorgeous Steve Austin or something, whatever it was, and then he shaved his head, and then I guess he went completely bald, and then grew out the goatee, and his ex-wife was British or something and said, drink your tea before it goes stone cold, something like that, some British saying. He's like, that's it, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he called it up and said, I'm going to be from, Austin, Texas, or wherever in Texas, and I'm going to be this, that, and the other, and boom, the rest is history. So those are well done, though. They are well done. And you have to concede, obviously, this stuff is predetermined, but it's worth a fortune, man. They just sold the Netflix for like $5 billion or something like that.
Crazy.
Like the WWE Empire is a multi-billion-dollar entity, and again, it's not for us, but there are a lot of people we know, grown adults, that are really into it. Like really, really into it. Like tonight's Raw, it's like, what are we doing, man? What are we doing tonight? And anyway,
taking road trips though.
Taking
I know
roadies.
of a grown adult who's flown
roadies.
to Dallas to watch it. Like I'm like, what are you doing this weekend? Flying to Dallas to watch.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I'm like, really? Like you taking your kids? No. I'm going with a couple buddies.
Bachelor
that's
party.
a boys trip.
Bachelor party at SummerSlam. It's like, oh, okay. There it is.
Look at that
that.
guy.
Look at Stone
and
Cold,
then,
man.
And honestly, whoever, like he probably just was sitting around having beers saying, what could I become? And that one decision to shave the head and be Stone Cold Steve Austin was probably tens of millions of dollars of an idea.
Oh, dude, more than that.
Hundreds of millions.
That guy's, and what he's made for the WWE, he's like, you could make an argument Stone Cold's the most important and popular wrestler of all time. Like more so than Hogan, Andre the Giant, The Rock.
Dude, I'm not
No
going to get
question,
into a
man.
wrestling debate.
No question.
Yeah.
More than Hulk Hogan or The
Absolutely.
Rock?
The Stone Cold, Stone Cold and the Attitude Era, whatever. Here I am. I'm pretending like I don't know stuff. I know stuff in the 90s. They took down WCW. Remember how big they were with NWO and all that kind of stuff? That was Stone Cold, man.
I
It was
don't.
all
Dude,
Stone
somebody
Cold.
please write in with some experience to
I'm
stop
telling you.
that talk.
Right?
I'm
that
telling you.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was the most popular and most important of
I
all
think
time.
you can make an
tell you-
argument.
I
can
will
make
tell
that
you right
argument.
now, like if we were in studio, Jason Poulter would scissor kick the door down
No.
and come in. I believe he's
Paul-
like he knows.
Poulter would
he
know,
knows-
man. I'll text Jason right now. All right, are we saying
Dude,
is Poulter the guy?
if
Is
he's
that
in the
guy?
building, get him in the studio, and I want to hear what he has to
think
say because
Poulter-
I think
I-
that's a joke of a comment.
Or he
what about
could
the
call
Hulkster?
in because
No.
I think I would think. Don't you think the Hulkster or the Macho Man are probably the most
Macho Man,
thing.
dude. Come on. The Macho Man, no way. He was big. He was hilarious. The Macho Man's great because now we play his audio when we talk about his weight loss. And he was an all-timer for sure. Like, he was an
What
all-time
about Andre
great.
the Giant? Like, what? Some of these guys are like.
That's an
legends,
interesting
you know?
case because Andre was there before it exploded in TV and all that. Like, he carried the whole thing through the 70s and 80s.
I want a power ranking. I want someone with experience that knows the most
I'm texting
important
Paul
wrestling.
right now.
Paul-
But
Paul-
I
The
don't
most
know.
important of all time, and I
Okay.
want a top 10, but I guarantee you Stone Cold won't be number one.
Let me clarify this because I've never had this conversation with Poulter. I'm going to ask him, what if he's like, what are you talking about? I have no idea why you think I'm a wrestling guy.
Okay. Well, I think Poulter is. I'm actually
Okay.
quite certain. Also, our guy Mulls. Mark
Mullen was
is
a freak. Mullen is
huge-
watching the show right now in a Rey Mysterio mask, and that's what he loves to do. On Mondays, he wears the Mysterio mask, and he was a huge wrestling guy.
Yeah, but these
okay.
guys would know. I think Steve Austin would probably be, but I think the Hulkster's probably the most
No,
famous.
because
of
we're older,
all
dude.
time.
We're older, man. I'm telling you. It's Stone Cold. Stone Cold in the 90s, there's nothing bigger. Nothing. I'm going Stone Cold 1. I'd probably go Hogan 2.
Dude, that's insane.
The Rock will be up there. Andre the Giant.
You're
Ric
showing
Flair.
your age right there. All the Hulkamaniacs out there taking their vitamins, and you have the disrespect to put him at number 2. It's a joke.
He may not even be 2. He might be behind others.
What was the guy's name? Who was Ted DiBiase?
The $1 Million Man. He was the best, the $1 Million Man. There's a great clip of him. He asked some kid out of the stands. He's like, "Come on up. If you can do 10 push-ups, I'll give you $100." And the kid gets to 9, and he kicks him and pushes him over and just starts laughing and walks away.
Get the clip.
Yeah.
Get the clip, JP, of the $1 Million Man.
I love
I'm
it.
telling you, man. I'm telling you right now, Stone Cold is number 1. Stone Cold's number 1. Most important
You know The
wrestler
Rock's
of all
worth
time.
$1 billion? The Rock?
Yeah.
Well, because he's a movie star now. Like,
Dude,
the Rock
he
makes
was
more
the
money
king
than
of the
anyone in
hill.
Hollywood.
He was the king of the jungle, man. He was the king.
He'd be a top 5. He'd probably be in the top 5. I think I'd go Stone Cold, The Rock, the Hulkster, Ric Flair, Andre the Giant. There's your 5-pack. There's your 5-pack. Take it to the bank.
Okay, there's
had
your
dinner
5-pack. I want an expert to just see your list and say,
All right.
yay or nay.
Okay.
I think I told you guys this before. I had dinner with Roddy Piper, the guy with the
hot rod.
kilt.
Yes.
Yeah, because he became a comedian. He was a comedian in Hollywood.
I think he passed away, R.I.P.
He did.
He did.
He did.
The legend
He
from
passed
Winnipeg.
away.
He's a Winnipeg guy.
Yeah, but I had dinner with him one night. He was very interesting. Like, really
he was
funny
a
and like
beauty, man. He was an all-timer. The hot rod would be somewhere
Dude
in the top
with the
20.
kilt and the white T-shirt, and he
Yeah.
he was a legend.
Okay.
He was a legend.
Here it is. Here it is, though. Now, this isn't Poulter, but this is somebody in the Poulter vein at TSN.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Stone Cold, The Rock, then Hogan, but I'm the same age as Hayes.
See,
So
there you
that's
go.
Kyle Lawson. I'm going to out you.
Okay,
That's Kyle
would
Lawson.
know. Kyle's he would
I'm
get
telling
that.
you.
This is
And
what
that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold sits up.
That's right. And I'll text Poulter. All right. Poulter's got kids and stuff. He's probably like, what are you idiots even talking about? But it is a generational thing. Al's brother just sent me a note. Now, this guy's not even close.
God.
But he said, you're
Al's-
sleeping
he's
on John
27 years
Cena.
old.
John Cena as one
That
of the
is
goats.
true. That is a
No,
younger
John
comment.
Cena's-
No,
No
John
chance.
Cena's
a
like
goat.
new guy. He's new guy. He's
Yeah,
not a.
he's got the jorts. He does this. He bothers
Yeah.
me, man. I'm not a Cena guy.
I like him, but I mean, he's not in the same vein as those other guys who are
No.
like absolute legends and like known and to put them on the map. Like
Right.
to me, Hulk Hogan put them on the map. Like
Yes, I
as
would
a
agree
kid,
with you. And
like,
Andre the
I
Giant and someone texting in, emailing in saying The Undertaker. Now we're really getting deep. I should take that back on Cena because what I've heard about Cena is from like a charity standpoint, unreal. Like unreal in
good
terms
guy.
of giving his time back and being charitable. But the whole like the Cena thing, not feeling
Yeah.
it.
Isn't
anyway,
he a hockey fan too?
yeah,
He's a
I
big
don't know.
hockey
Maybe
fan.
he is. Yeah, he could be.
Blackhawks, wasn't he? I think he's a
Well,
Blackhawks
speaking of
fan.
Chicago, man, I'm seeing pictures of legends down there. I didn't know. Like, I saw, obviously, Chelios was being honored last night. His number was retired. Gretzky was there. Messier was there. I'm looking at a picture of Eddie Belfour
hat on
and
and a
Doug
suit.
Gilmour out last night in Chicago. Like, that's legendary status. Dougie Gilmour, Eddie Belfour, Mike Keenan. A lot of guys. So we'll get into that into the next hour because our buddy Ken Daniels coming up was obviously calling it on the Detroit side of things. Patrick Kane returning the whole night. It was just an awesome night. And Detroit's a team you got to look out for, man. I know there's a lot of Leaf fans that are like, what's going on with this team? That Steve Yzerman, he put together Tampa, and he's been there in Detroit. He's been lurking. He's been kind of piecing things together. They're coming. Detroit appears to be coming. So more on that. JP Ricciardi coming up as well at 6:30. His take on the Bellinger deal, what it means for other free agents who are out there. Where's he at with Manoah, who's about to hit the mound? And there's a lot going on in terms of the Jays at spring training. So we'll catch up with JP in about 45 minutes. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. So now I'm in a text chat here with Al's brother debating John Cena's impact.
Hey, Nick Caroli just said John Cena is a massive talent.
Oh, I don't dispute the talent. Al's brother's saying top 3 all time. No debate, not even a debate according to Al's brother, John Cena.
I'm sorry I even brought anything up. Now I've got people writing me their favorite wrestler who should be mentioned. It's like I'm not Like somebody sent me a
Completely
text
off the
saying,
rails.
"How could you disrespect Big John Stud like that?" And I'm like,
I know. My
I'm
buddy
not that
just-
familiar with Big John
I got the same
Stud.
thing. I just got one. It's like Razor Ramon. You got to have Razor Ramon. I'm like, we're not doing this, man.
The
We're not.
Undertaker, to
Yeah.
me, Generation X, like
Yeah.
all of these guys. Like it's hilarious, but you know what? We don't know enough about it. I don't have I grew up watching Stampede Wrestling.
Right.
I was done after that. I didn't.
All right.
I didn't
Well,
continue on.
Let me get to the bottom of this quickly. Jason Poulter, as we know, I did not know this, but Noodles, you were stating he is the definitive voice of wrestling. So I've asked him. I sent him a text saying, "Can you give us the 5 most important wrestlers?"
Important. That's all you said.
That's all I said. Now, he's given them to me. He has not listed the order, though. I will go back to him and say I need a definitive number 1. He wrote Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and Stone Cold. So those are his 4. He said, I'm going back and forth on number 5. He just wrote me back. He said, I'd say Andre the Giant is number 5. Now, I believe that was my 5. I believe I said that was the 5-pack. And I've been wrong on a lot of things on this show. I'm so proud of myself for getting to number 5. Let me go back to him. We'll have an answer in the 6 p.m. hour. I'm going to ask him. I need a definitive number 1.
Yeah.
Who
Can
is
you play? Don't be
definitively-
no bias. Just say what would your order be? 1 to 5. 1
Okay.
being the most important.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll get to the bottom of this. This is why you come to our show. We're here to help people with Hazy B on Fridays.
Yes, and
on
wrestling.
Mondays, the Mount Rushmore in wrestling. We're going to bring that to the table. Ken Daniels, JP Ricciardi coming up in the final hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.